Now that we have your attention, we have an amazing person coming up next. Do you want to introduce her? This is so some of us get where we're really rich is that we get to hang out together with some of these really fabulous people, and they
Thank
are our support groups and we are theirs, and our next guest is one of those people we get to share space and time with, so it's really truly delightful. You do the honor of the introduction here.
Yeah, so we'll bring on Dr. Yasmine. Hello, how are you? She is a two-time best-selling author and clinical psychologist. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Welcome. We're so happy to have you here today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. And I wanted to give gratitude to the two of you and everybody who's been pulling such long hours and making this happen. It's really a blessing because you're bringing forth such a level of diversity in terms of thoughts and opinion. And it's thanks to you guys who are here from morning to evening doing this. So thank you so much for your hard work.
Thank you for that acknowledgement. I was just talking to Bo yesterday about that. Even as people who are helping host this, there's so much energy that happens in it that I feel like I'm getting my own transformation as well. So thank you for that acknowledgement. Rex, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say, and thank you for being here. It's the guests and the speakers as well as the people who are putting it on that make the event important. And it's a live event. I mean, think about that. So anything that can go wrong could go wrong. And we've been pretty lucky with it going as smooth as it's been going. So we're with bated breath waiting for you to present what you're going to present, Dr. Yasmine.
Sounds good. So let me introduce myself a little bit more for people who don't know me. So I'm Dr. Yasmine Saad. I use ancient Eastern wisdom to cure modern Western problem. I say that I bring liberation out of limitation and I bring harmony out of harm. So I'm here to give you a different entry point. I think a lot of the guests gave you different entry points to how to think and grow rich. I'm going to give you a different one, which is through your thoughts and through your emotions. So we all already think and grow rich. And rich is not necessarily financial wealth. It can be emotional wealth. It can be wisdom, level of consciousness, you name it. Rich is what you define it. And what you're going to define it is based on where you are in your life. If you're in a place of building a home, you might be in a place of financial wealth. If you already have the financial wealth, you'll be at the emotional wealth. And once you're at the emotional wealth, then you go to the spiritual wealth. But all of them really start with thinking. So the first example that I like to give people to make it very concrete about how you think and it creates your reality. I usually like to say, if you think that the way to success, the way to being rich is working very, very hard. A job is going to come along asking you to work 18 hours a day and giving you raises every 2 years and bonuses and the way up. You're going to be, that's my way up. And so you're going to take this job, you're going to work very hard at it, and you're going to succeed. Let's take another person who thinks, no, the way up is through ease and grace. It's not going to be through me sacrificing hours, sleep, family time, and everything. You're going to pass on that job and you're going to take the next job that will be better hours, more balanced life. And that also has the potential. You'll wait for that golden opportunity and then you'll also become successful. This is how what you think creates your reality, because you will accept in your reality what is in line with your thoughts. So this is a very concrete example how your reality is actually a manifestation of what's within you. Now let's expand that a bit, because a lot of people are like, well, what do I do with my negative thoughts? What do I do with my negative emotion, negative life events? Well, I'm here to say that every single thought that you have, every single emotion that you have carries your past, your present, and the future within. The thoughts and the emotion are here to propel you. And I'm going to show you how. So I know I'm a psychologist and most people say, well, I hate psychologists because I have to talk about my past and all of that. And I'm here to tell you, you don't. You absolutely don't. Good psychologists, you give them your thoughts, and embedded in your thoughts, everything exists. Your thoughts are your blueprints. And it's only our mind that judge it as, I'm having a negative thought, I have to get rid of it. Well, there's a lot of things you can do with your thoughts. And a lot of the speakers spoke about them, right? So I'll give you the common example that people do with their thoughts. They either observe them and let them pass like clouds. They either, if they're negative, feel like, ooh, I got to turn that into positive, and just flip it with positive affirmation and switch it around. Or, they just say, no, I'm not having this thought. This thought is not entering, and they move on. All those are very valid ways to deal with negative thoughts. My point about it is, although they're very good, you are robbing yourself of the wisdom that is embedded in the thought. You see, thoughts don't come randomly to you. Your emotions don't come randomly to you. Your thoughts come to you based on your internal life and external life. So I'm going to give you a concrete example. A lot of people have this negative thoughts, and it's a thought of, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. So most people say, no, tell yourself you are good enough. Tell yourself you're good enough. And that is valid, because when you feel good enough, you end up doing enough, and you manifest what you want. It does very well work. But I believe that if you do that, you miss the in-between step. And the in-between step is understanding, what is that thought about? So as Dennis Whitley said, it starts with awareness. It starts creating a space between you and your thoughts. Negative thoughts have no issue to them. The issue is your action. Most people act on negative thoughts. And what I mean by that is, you have a negative thought, you feel awful. There's no space between you and your negative thoughts. You're one with them. You believe them. They're like face value. Negative thoughts are just a signal. Any thoughts, I use negative because that's where most people struggle. And negative thoughts are here to create something way much more powerful than positive thoughts. Because if you have positive thoughts, you don't pay attention to it. When you have a negative thought, you want to do something about it. Any person wants to do something about negative thoughts. They want to move them aside. They want to have them not prevent them from moving forward. And that's what negative thoughts are meant. They're meant to create action. The problem is people do it through action on the external world. I'm inviting you to do action in the internal world. So let's go back to, I think I'm not good enough. What does it say? Let's become aware. I'm having that thought. I'm not good enough. So what does it say about me? One, it says that where you are right now in your present, you don't feel that you meet your standard for being good enough. That's what it means. It carries your present. In your present, that's what it means. So let's acknowledge that. And how great is that? That means you are tuning in to another level that you want to be at. Now, you're not at it, but you want to be at. So it carries both your present and your future. Because if you think you're not good enough, you have a concept of good enough, and you want to get there. And it also carries your past. And how does it carry your past? If you observe, okay, what is not being good enough? I have in my practice a patient. So for those of you who don't know, I train the next generation of psychologists to embrace holistic care. So I have a lot of psychologists coming to me, talking to me about their patients. So we have this patient who is brilliant, really brilliant, high IQ. And that patient thinks that she's not good enough. So the psychologists come to me like, what are we doing with this? And I said, she is tuning into something. Your thoughts stay with you and enter your body because there is a part of you that does believe it. There is a kernel of truth in those thoughts. Now, the problem is you make them the whole truth. Now, let's look at this. So I had my psychologist go back and figure out what is going on. What is the level that she wants to be good at, that she's not? And we discovered that she doesn't feel emotionally intelligent. She feels IQ intelligence, but not emotionally intelligent. And she's tapping into something very real for her. This is a patient extremely smart, but emotionally she has a hard time picking up. emotional intelligence. And for her, being intelligent is that. So therefore, she's not good enough because that's an area where she wants more. She's not where she is. Now, what else is she doing? She's totally negating the fact that she's super smart, totally negating it. And this is where you see that your thoughts carry your blueprint, your thoughts carrying what you do. And it's very important that you understand what you do with your thoughts, because what you do within, you do outside. And if we explored a little bit further with this patient, because I'm sure you guys do it too, we all do it, it's natural phenomena. So if you look within, you will realize you do that because it's easy, because it's your zone of genius and talent. Well, then it's not appreciated, it's devalued, it doesn't exist. So this person, through that I'm not good enough, had to realize that, one, everything that's easy, I don't value. I don't value as a talent. I don't value as a strength. So what does it mean? That means in order to have self-esteem, to be good enough, you need effort. You need to struggle through, overcome, and perform. That is the only way you're going to feel good enough. So that means this person can only have a life of struggle in some way, if that is. And we all have different things. I'm using a particular person example to show you how a statement of good enough carries your blueprint, carries wisdom about you that is very important for you to have so that you can step in your future empowered. So let's go back to this person. So this person now, has the knowledge that she does that, has the knowledge that she's stemming from a place of lack of absence. So how more beautiful now if after we acquire this knowledge about the blueprint, about what this person does, that is likely based on the past, on the present. And if we then reframe it into, instead of saying, I'm not good enough, this person was saying, I am very intelligent, and using and is better than but. So I will reframe that. I'm intelligent, and I want to have a higher emotional intelligence. And I want to figure out how to do it. And then let's question this idea of effort. Does it need to be effortful? Why does it need to be effortful? Maybe if it's your weakness, it will require some effort. But let's question that. From that place, through that thought, I'm not good enough, we know where the person is in the present, where the person came with their past, and we know how they're going to move forward. Therefore, with that simple example, it's a very easy one. You see how I am not good enough actually carry a kernel of truth. For this person, she picked up that there was something she was not good enough. But it also carries the desire. You have a desire for better. And it also carries the obstacle. If you are going to delete the foundation that is you, your strength will come easy to you, how are you ever going to be good enough? So you have to work on that obstacle for you. So you see, with one thought, we have your past, your present, your future, your obstacle, and your potential, and where you want to go. And so it's very important that you take every thought you have and that you look into them, you decode them. I'm going to take a more complex example. I'm going to take now perfectionism. Perfectionism. What is perfectionism? Perfectionism is when you do something and when it happens, it hits a aha moment. It's like, yes, I got it. It's perfect. And what is perfection? Perfection, it's a full state of balance. Like your thoughts, your desire are a reflection of something deep within that you need. Their translation. Your mind translates them into what is needed in the reality, but it has a back translation. So for example, if I say I want my home to look perfect, what does it mean, my home to look perfect? It means like I need to enter my house and feel like, yes, this feels good. It means it has to hit my heart. perfection, it means it has to please my heart. And so most people go on finding perfection in the outside world when they really need an opening of the heart, something extremely harmonious within. So it's very important that you decode your thoughts and you see what's behind them, because what's behind them is your soul's desire. It's who you are, that's innate to you. Because if you go on perfecting everything in your life, you will drive yourself crazy, because it will never be enough. Because what is really needs perfecting is the inner balance within you. So I'll give you a different example. Take the example of a perfect house. You know very well that when you're super peaceful, you meditate, the clutter in your house doesn't matter. It does not matter. But when you have stressful day and you come home and your house is a mess, it really bothers you. The outside world bothers you because your inside world needs help. So I really invite you to really look at what's happening in your outside world, your reaction, your emotion, your thoughts, and your desire as a reflection of the inner world and what the inner world is asking for. And so I'm an expert at helping people decode their thoughts and their emotion. People come to me and within 10 minutes, they know who they are. They're connecting to the essence of who they are because their thoughts are showing us the way. And they're showing you the way. So I really invite you to first become aware and curious about your thoughts and your desire. They really come from deep within you, a place deep within you that is pushing for growth. So even the negative ones, and I would say especially the negative ones, because they're made to have an impact. Rather, the positive ones don't have as much impact. So the first step, awareness. Second step is to ask yourself, okay, what is that thought telling me? Where am I not good enough? What is it that I want to perfect? And let's look at things. Let's look at it from the external world. And what does it mean for my internal world? So this concept is very new to you. So it might be a bit hard. If it is hard, I have a mastermind that I'm offering to people where people join me and I help them really decode. It's a small group of people. You come, you tell me your thoughts, and we all learn because we all have the same thoughts. I'll give you different examples based on emotion so that you can know how to do it. Anger. Most people are like, I don't want to be angry. I don't. And people feel that anger is destruction. I say anger is construction. You are angry because you're not happy with your life. Anger is meant to show, hey, pay attention. You're here to listen. You're here to construct something. Anger is rising inside of you so that you are pushed to action. Now, the action that I say has to be an inner action before it's an outer action. So the inner action is, what is it about the situation that is not in line with who you are, that is creating frustration? Frustration can only happen if you have unmet desires. And desires come from a deep place within. Most people say, I should not follow my desire. It's bad. But I say, don't act on your desire, but understand your desire. They have the seed of who you are, and they carry your path forward. So I'll give you an example. I always like living in beautiful places, beautiful art. You see the painting in my home. And I always thought like, ooh, I'm so materialistic. What is that about? Until I changed my outlook and I realized I like beauty. I like to be surrounded by beauty on the outside. What does it mean? It means within me, I need to create more beauty. I need to create more beauty within me so that I can be in beautiful places or not beautiful places and feel good. I don't rely on beauty on the external world. Now, I will still surround myself in the external with beauty, but I need beauty. I love beauty. I sink in beauty. And where does beauty come? Beauty comes from your perspective. So you see, I became an expert in understanding negative thoughts and negative emotion because I'm an empath. I tune into your negative thoughts and emotion, and I want to tune into beauty. So my mission is to help people really understand that all the negative is really beautiful, and it starts with me, and that's where I am. My stories, I've came from Warrenton, Lebanon, to being top 3 psychologists in your city. How do you do that? You decode your thoughts and emotion and messages. You observe, you become aware of what's happening to others, what's happening within you, and you create your life based on a wealth of wisdom. So we all think and grow rich. The question is, can we elevate to the other level? We all have another level. And the way we do that is by elevating within. There's an inner blockage. What is your inner blockage? Is it like a faith? Is it that you don't know how to deal with fear? I say fear is a beautiful gift. Fear is showing you that there is something within that you don't have yet that prevents you from feeling safe in the world. Now, don't act on fear. That means don't stop yourself from acting, but listen to that message. Maybe you don't have enough faith, and that's what fear is about. How can you live with certainty in the world of uncertainty? What do you need? Maybe you need to rely more on who you are and discover your strength and talent. Because when you really know who you are, you can rely on that. And that provides safety. And that might help you with your fear. But fear has a message, a positive message, that when you do the inner work behind the fear, you will step empowered. I'll give you a different example. I was helping a person with imposter syndrome. And he came to me with, I want to become big. I want to become big. And I know I have a message, but I cannot do this Facebook Live. I cannot do this. I'm really scared. And he was like, please push me. I need someone who push me. And I said, well, I don't believe in that. I believe that your fear has a message for you. And can you decode that? That fear is here to tell you, listen, built in, and step forward. Don't just push through and step forward. You will still succeed if you do that. You will. But that fear will never go away because you haven't built within what is needed. At some point, there's an obstacle that comes along. So I showed this person how they were actually not believing who they were. They were living an imposter life. They were actually thinking that what makes them is their effort, is their consistency, is their persistence. They did not at all tap into who they are. And that person was an empath. That person had so much strength, intuition, helping others. But that person did not tune in any of that, and therefore didn't understand that Facebook Live might not work for that person because they needed someone on the other end. And by knowing that knowledge, they were able to bring another person to Facebook Live with ease and grace and step forward in success. Then there was no more imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome was just the way you're going is not who you are. And you can absolutely have what you want, but do it based on who you are. And who you are is enough. You have all the seed within you to your magnificent life. If you have a desire, it comes from somewhere. It comes at a particular time and place to open a door for you, to open your imagination, to open yourself to create a reality to your future. So I really invite all of you to embrace your thoughts and your emotions, the positive one, the negative one. They have a beautiful message for you. They are here to prepare you for your future. They prepare you for your future so that you can step empowered, not through force, but empowered. And so you need, in order to think and grow rich, you need to think about your thoughts. It's the awareness. about them. You need to decode your thoughts and your emotion the way a bit I showed you. And then you need to do the inner work so that you step into action. And the last step, of course, is action. Life is about balance. You don't want to be too much in the inner world or too much in the outer world. Most people are in balance a certain way. A lot of people nowadays push through effort, action, external world, perfecting the external, and they neglect the internal. And others do the total opposite. They go so deep within, but they never do something on the outside. And the gift is to be able to decode the messages from your thoughts, your body, your mind, your life, to understand where are you off balance? Where do you need to rebalance? In this little time with you, I shared with you how you actually apply ancient Eastern wisdom to modern Western problem. What I shared with you is the essence of ancient Eastern philosophies, that everything that happens within you and outside of you is here to propel you to your next growth. Everything is energy, and your thoughts and emotion are a manifestation of that energy. And energy is just energy. Your mind will say it's good energy or it's bad energy. It is just energy. And energy always move up and for the better and for growth. And so I encourage you to see the negative in that way. So I shared with you the inner life. Now I want to share with you a little the external life. Toxic people in your life. Now, I don't advocate being around toxic people. I advocate if you have a toxic person in front of you, is it affecting you? How come it's affecting you? I always say what enters in is only what's inside. And I'll give you an example. If I think I'm pretty and you tell me I'm ugly, it's not going to do anything to me. I'm going to be like, they must be having a bad day. Like, or they're really envious and jealous of me. There's something there. But it's not going to do anything about my self-esteem. Now, if I have doubt whether I'm pretty or not, and you tell me I'm ugly, I'm like, maybe they're right. My nose, my mouth. And I'm going to look at those defects and I'm going to say, oh, they're so right. I am ugly. And then I'm going to bounce. I'm going to have doubt. I'm going to go to my beautiful side, my ugly side, and I'm going to bounce. And if I really feel ugly and you tell me I'm ugly, I'm going to either be, how dare you? And I'm going to be so upset with you. I'm going to have a trigger response. Or I'm going to be so upset with myself. I'm going to be, I'm so ugly. And so toxic people, what people call toxic people, only do anything to you because within you it's not solid. There is something that needs to be built so that it'd be like my first example. It's like somebody throw a stone at your door. It goes through, it goes from one window to the next in your house. It doesn't enter. So what I say is, if you are around toxic people, it's for your growth opportunity. Decode the message. Once you have the message, once you integrate the growth, the relationship will naturally dissolve. You don't have to put the boundaries. It will naturally dissolve because you won't want to be around it from a place of strength. But get the wisdom before. And you don't need to be around that toxic person to get the wisdom. You can disconnect too. But I feel like most people forget about getting the wisdom. And there's so much wisdom and there's so much richness. Life brings you so much. It gives you everything you need for your future. It gives you the lesson. It gives you the beautiful event. It gives you everything. The question is, can you see it? Can you think about it that way? If you do think about it that way, everything coming your way is for you. You can really think and grow rich, not only at the financial level, not only at the emotional level, but at the spiritual level. You will grow, you will be empowered. And that's what I wish for everybody on this planet. If you can think about your negatives, think about your positive, and grow so that you get to your next step empowered. Don't push things aside. Just bring an awareness, bring a distance, notice what you're doing. Don't think things at face value. What people say, what you believe might not be fully accurate. It's all distorted, but it has a message for you. And so can you decode that message? So I'm very excited to share with you that I'm writing my book on decoding your thoughts and emotion, where I'm going to be sharing how to do that with every single common emotion out there: anxiety, panic attack, imposter syndrome, depression, victimhood, guilt, shame. They all have a message, a deep message. And if you learn to decode that, you are your inner healer. You are your inner manifester. You create the life you want based on that. And when something negative comes your way, it's like, okay, well, I'm ready for a growth curve right now. Let's do it. Let's go. That's the idea here. Everything that's coming for you is for your growth. And when it's coming for me, people think, oh my God, it's coming to attack me. It's coming for you. It's all for your own good. So that's my entry gate. This is what I wanted to offer you today. I am blessed to be here. I love the idea of Think and Grow Rich. I think we all do it. And we have to do it at a higher level. All of us. What is your higher level? Back to you guys. Oh, you are muted,
I was
Carissa.
trying to add myself, and it was, I don't know, Mo was trying to add me at the same time, so I was going in and out.
Well, that was a moment of synchronicity, as Dr. Yasmine understands very well the work of Carl Jung. Thank you, Dr. Yasmine. You know, we've had a chance to get to know each other very well the last year or two, as I've gotten more familiar with your work and vice versa. And something that I pointed out before is that you do such a brilliant job of bridging the gap between East and West. This has been something that's been a semi-reoccurring theme over the course of this program. And what I will say, Dr. Yasmine, is even in the works of Napoleon Hill, there is really a spiritual element that oftentimes gets overlooked, which I think is interesting. There are concepts and modalities that one would argue are spiritual and even have a resonance with Eastern ideas and concepts. And so what I want to do with a few minutes that we have left is I want to get into that. As a psychologist working in the West, educated in the West, how do you balance bringing your natural resonance to a more holistic approach to modern day medicine and the modern day medical field? So I'm going to bring back in Rex Sykes, and hopefully the three of you can touch on this subject matter for the next 10 minutes or so.
That's amazing. I love that question, Mo. So I'll go ahead a tiny bit of how I bridge it. What I love about Think and Grow Rich is it's really universal laws. That's why it's intemporal. It can live through time. What is in this book is how we all operate and what we all need. And you will understand the book at the level you're in. So the key is to speak to the person at the level they're in. And so bridging East and West is understanding this person, what are they saying in that moment that is reflecting of their soul and who they are, and how can I decode it or help them decode it for them so that they get the next step and the next step and the next step. So that's a bit some things. But Rex, I see that you want to add something or ask something.
I will. No, I was scratching my head, but I think that's one, a great question, and two, a wonderful answer, because a lot of people, especially growing up in the educational system, get conditioned to think they should be further along than they are, or better than they are. Like if they say start learning golfing or playing the piano, they think they should be able to do it well almost from the get-go. In other words, you can't be 2 steps ahead of where you're at. You got to be where you're at. So people aren't going to understand certain principles or practices or books or whatever until they are ready to understand that. And I know Hill mentions that a lot throughout the book. When when you're ready, you'll get it. You've got half the secret, you're going to get more of it, that kind of thing. So what you just said is kind of pace their experience and help them understand where they're at or embrace where they're at. Is that correct? And then
That is correct. I will add to it that as I described in my talk, your presence carries everything. And so the idea, it also carries the obstacle for your future and the promise for your future, both together. So the key is to see, when I train psychologists or when I talk to patients, which way are you tilting? For example, I'll take a psychologist example. Talk about guilt. A lot of psychologists will say we have to remove the guilt. Guilt is bad. And this is where it's tilting. It's tilting towards the bad. No, well, let's look. Why not? Why is it not good for this person? Now, the key is guilt is good because it's calling this person to pay attention that they're not aligned with their moral value. So until they get that, guilt needs to be there. The problem is guilt feels awful, is uncomfortable, and it serves no purpose if you don't get the message, and most people don't get the message, so they live in the bad.
Well, you make a great point too. But if people didn't feel guilty, sometimes they'd repeat the same behaviors.
That's right.
So there's a purpose to it and for it.
That's right. And it will stay there as a protection for your future until you decode it, you understand the message. The moment you understand the message, you apply it, guilt is gone. It has fulfilled its purpose. So this is how you bridge. So Mo was asking, how do you bridge? I see where the imbalance is in the perspective, because that's the way forward. The way forward is always towards harmony. And we are all constantly in balance, and we're constantly need to readjust, we tilt, readjust, we'll tilt. And so whether it be teaching psychologists or helping patients, it is the same. It's about decoding where you're at with your strength, your potential, your future, and with your obstacles, and seeing everything carries both.
May I ask another question, and I can pass it on to Carissa, because we all do similar things in the sense we teach psychologists or different people are trained. That said, I want to be sensitive, and I don't want to make this just about psychologists, but the point is that a lot of people have learned a method of our therapeutic mode, and they come with baggage too. So when you're trying to train or teach them, they're going, yes, but what about this? Or yes, but what about that? Or I believe it's this way. And so sometimes the beliefs we have, our perceptions, how we create the world, stand in their way of actually making breakthroughs. And that's all good too. And in regards to, in the right time, they will come to the right, understanding for them when it happens. But as a trainer, as a coach, as a psychologist trying to help the psychologist learn to do therapy more effectively, or the patient change more readily or easily, what do you do when you encounter that? How do you because people are sitting there with their husbands and wives and children and everybody else and going, yeah, if they'd only make this change, how do you approach them?
I love that question. So I believe that everything that's coming your way is for you. I apply that. So I first apply it to me. What is this? What is it that is coming for me? Is it for me to refine my teaching? Is it for me to know where I can teach, where I cannot teach? What is it? At the end of the day, I think it's a bit an illusion that we help others. We're just here to go deeper in our journey. And when you go deeper in our journey, the other person changes. So I always look at within rather than outside. I always do that. So I see it like, okay, what is happening here? Thank you so much, Michelle. That's so sweet. So I just look at it from, okay, so and usually the way I think about it, they're pushing me to refine my thinking, because I have now to find another way to explain. I have to have another way, and I have to show them, like, maybe the way I said it's too contradictory. Maybe I said either or. Maybe I should do it in a way that adds to them. Like, it's all for my learning. It's all for me to become a deeper, better teacher. But I must have done something. So what is it? And I'm constantly perfecting my art. I'm constantly learning. People who are coming to me, they're attracted to something that I have. At the same time, they give me as much as I give them. And it's as much for me. So I don't so much focus on, oh, I have a mission to help them and help their family. I focus like, maybe they're here for me, actually. And maybe they're the one helping me. And if I go deeper, well, maybe they will have an enlightenment moment, or maybe they serve their purpose. And that will be it.
Just one comment. That is so beautiful, because oftentimes our teachers show up in the form of those who require teaching, or those who present a problem, and that's really so that we can look at the problem inside ourselves instead of putting it on them. That is absolutely a beautiful answer.
Wow. I have taken away so much from this conversation myself, and I really appreciate your work. Obviously, there's many people who are falling in love with you. I'm certainly one of them. A question that I have, kind of circling back to the Think and Grow principles, is, say, for example, we have two people who are very similar in nature, grew up very similarly, or maybe that's the key, is they didn't grow up similarly, but they're similar in nature, but they apply these principles and they're not getting a result. Underneath that, would you say that trauma or something that creates trauma in somebody's life could get in the way of people applying the principles properly? So say something as like imagination or faith, and I don't want to say properly, but like gets in the way of them actually applying these principles so that they can be successful, or like really tapping into their intuition and that sixth sense. So more or less, do you believe trauma plays a role in people being able to really apply these principles in a way that gets them success?
Okay, fantastic question. I'll go one step further. It's not really trauma. It is the way they process the world did not able them to get the message of wisdom that they needed from trauma. Because at the end of the day, everything is faith, wisdom, abundance. But when our mind is a mind of fairness, is a mind of logicality, it's a mind of right and wrong. So when trauma happens, the mind kicks in and cannot understand the violence received, cannot understand the lack of fair, cannot understand the wrong. It's more that their heart was pure and the heart got really hurt, and the mind jumped into a place of wrong, unfair, and therefore there's no way of growing from there. There's only a place of victim, and from a place of victim, there's no faith, there's no abundance, there's no wisdom, there's victimhood. Only when you can be on the other side of the journey, only when you can step away and have somebody guide you or guide yourself to a place of understanding that, wow, this happened and I understand it and it makes sense. I'll share with you my own trauma to make sense of it for you. So I was born in war-torn Lebanon. I lived the first 5 years of my life with war, bomb, earthquake, you name it. And I always wondered, what was that about? Why? Like, I believe everything happens for a reason, a positive reason. What is the reason? Like, I could not understand it until 9/11 happened. So I was about in my 30s by then. And then, so 9/11 happened, and I was very cool and collected. And people were coming to me with so much trauma. And I didn't understand. I was like, is there something wrong with me? What's going on? And suddenly clicked that if you go through trauma when you're 5 years old and you feel everything through your mother and you feel the panic and you know nothing how to regulate yourself, talk about training at such a young age. You can sit with anybody's emotion and talk about my journey as a psychologist. It made suddenly out of the blue, everything made sense. There was no trauma. There was just preparation for my future journey. And I could understand it. And then I could relate to it from a place of abundance and wisdom and gift and being so grateful for everything that I had in my life. But it's only when I was 30 that I could do that. And for most people, that's what happened.
Well, that goes to connecting the dots, looking back.
That's right.
Understanding the path or the journey that you had. And so have you found that sometimes, because you train psychologists, helpers help the people stay stuck more than they help them unstick. I mean, both are possible. They
Yes.
buy into the victim mentality and then help them perpetuate that, as opposed to embracing or allowing or accepting or anything else.
Absolutely. And that happens once you have not examined your own thoughts, your own judgment, when you have not looked at your own imbalances. That's when it happens, because you will put your own imbalances on others. That's why, but we all do this because we all have judgment. We all have. So the key is really to constantly have a place of observance, a place of awareness, so that you know what you put onto others. Right. So I can tell you my own place is I love positive. So I'm turning negative into positive. Right. But that's my strength. That's why I came up with a new way of looking at negative, that I am totally unaffected when somebody comes to me. As a psychologist, you want to figure out a way not to be affected. And with that, it's sharing a lot of new wisdom to others. So through my own imbalances, I'm bringing a gift to the world too. So, but I'm aware of both sides. I'm very much aware when I go towards it. I'm very much aware when I don't. Awareness is the key. That's the way to not, throw the hot potato onto the other person.
Yeah, it reminds me of the saying, things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you. And recently I heard somebody say it's happening through you. So what do you believe? Can you elaborate a little bit on the difference between things happening for you and things just happening through you?
That's amazing. Those are the different level of consciousness. Happening to you is when your mind is taking over, because the mind is a logic, is right and wrong, fairness, you name it. So happening to you is you processing at the mind level. That's where it is. There's nothing much more than that. When it's happening for you, it's suddenly you use the mind and turn it. You did turn it, and the soul is sipping in, and the intuition, the spirituality, but it's still full of ego. Happening for you is like everything is for me. I am somebody. I am like, it's as if I was saying, I'm Dr. Yasmine Saad, top 3 psychologist in New York City, and calm. There's an ego in it. Happening through you is you really understand that you're just a messenger for wisdom, and you were created with all your imbalances and perfection. You were created just the way you are to bring a message to the next person next to you, to yourself. So it's the next level, that everything only happens through us. But in order to believe that, you need to be out of your mind, out of the ego, and go to the next. And those are levels that you get. And everybody starts somewhere. I don't know anybody who starts by thinking, oh, it happens through me. Very enlightened children do that. So.
Right.
I love ending the segment on that point, Dr. Yasmine. You always have such a insightful approach to the field of psychology, which I personally can appreciate. I think that we need more voices that are similar to your voice, that have a different outlook. And with that being said, I want to thank you, Dr. Yasmine. It's been a joy. I've written a lot of notes as usual when I hear you speak, and we will certainly be bringing you back on our platform very shortly. Thank you, Dr. Yasmine.
Thank you so much, Mo, Carissa, and Rex. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Wonderful, Yasmine.
And
so,
Rex,
who is next, Mo?
Well, we have 2 special guests that are joining us momentarily. But before we do that, I'm going to take a quick short break, and we'll be back in about a minute.
Okay.